Today, we're diving deep into a series of encounters where officers, in their attempts to assert authority, end up in rather embarrassing situations. Let's dive right in. Our first story unfolds on a seemingly ordinary day. A driver, who's committed no offense, finds himself being flagged down by a police officer. The reason? An allegedly expired vehicle tag. As the conversation begins, it seems like any other routine traffic stop. The officer requests the driver's documents.
And another question, you just turned that on, right? Like, you didn't have that while you were driving?
No, I just turned it on, yeah.
But then, out of the blue, throws in a question about the driver possibly using his phone while driving. A clear deviation from the topic at hand, hinting at the officer's ulterior motives. As the officer scrutinizes the documents, he confidently states that the vehicle's tag expired the previous December.
Just because it seems like a while if the validation tag expired in December.
Quite a long time, right? But here's the twist. The vehicle is a rental. The driver, understandably perplexed, points out that any issues with the vehicle's tags aren't his responsibility, but that of the rental company, Enterprise. Yet, the officer, seemingly on a mission to pin the blame, insists it's the driver's duty to ensure the tag's validity. Growing increasingly frustrated, the driver asks to inspect the license plate himself. And what does he find? The tag is valid, far from being expired. The officer's reaction? A faint surprise, claiming it's a mere oversight, but the plot thickens. The officer inadvertently reveals that he had checked the vehicle's license plate even before pulling the driver over. This raises a pressing question. If he had already checked, how did he miss the valid tag? Or was there another reason for this stop? Stay tuned as we unravel more as we delve deeper into this perplexing encounter. It's essential to understand the broader context. Traffic stops, seemingly straightforward, can often be a microcosm of larger societal issues. In many instances, they serve as a reflection of the biases, both conscious and unconscious, that some officers might harbor. Now, back to our story. The driver, having just proven the validity of his vehicle's tag, is understandably agitated. He's been pulled over without cause, questioned about unrelated matters, and now faced with an officer who seems unwilling to admit a mistake. But instead of losing his cool, the driver takes a different approach. He begins to question the officer's motives, trying to understand the real reason behind the stop. The officer, caught off guard by the driver's assertiveness, fumbles for a response. He mentions a routine check, a standard procedure, but the driver isn't convinced. Why? Because the officer had already admitted to checking the vehicle's license plate before initiating the stop. This revelation is crucial. It suggests that the officer had all the information he needed before deciding to pull the driver over. So, what prompted the stop? This is where things get even more intriguing. The driver, connecting the dots, hints at a possible case of racial profiling. It's a heavy accusation, one that has been at the forefront of many discussions about policing in recent years. Racial profiling, the act of targeting individuals based on their race or ethnicity rather than any evidence of criminal activity, has been a contentious issue. Numerous studies have shown its prevalence, and countless individuals have shared their personal experiences, painting a picture of a deeply rooted problem. The officer, realizing the gravity of the situation, tries to deflect. He mentions other cases, other stops, attempting to portray this as an isolated incident, but the driver, well-informed and articulate, counters with statistics, facts, and figures. He talks about the disproportionate number of traffic stops involving people of color, the often trivial reasons given for these stops, and the psychological toll they take on the individuals involved. As the conversation progresses, it becomes more than just a traffic stop. It transforms into a dialogue about systemic issues, biases, and the need for reform. The driver, using this encounter as a platform, sheds light on the broader challenges faced by many in similar situations. He emphasizes the importance of awareness, education, and accountability. By the end of the encounter, the officer, whether genuinely remorseful or simply wanting to avoid further scrutiny, apologizes. He admits to the oversight, promises to be more diligent, and lets the driver go without any citations. But the impact of this encounter goes beyond that moment. It serves as a reminder of the power of knowledge, the importance of standing up for one's rights, and the need for continuous dialogue and reform in policing. As we continue to explore more such stories, we hope to foster understanding, spark discussions, and drive change. Our next tale unfolds in a serene park setting. Picture this: a family basking in the sun, laughter echoing, and memories being made. But this idyllic scene is soon interrupted by the unexpected arrival of two police officers. Without preamble, they approach the family, their presence casting a shadow over the previously cheerful atmosphere. The man recording the incident, quick-witted and aware of his rights, immediately seeks identification from the officers.
Yeah, from Lakewood Police. What's your ID number, please? And you, sir?
They comply, but their reason for approaching the family is baffling. Allegedly, the family was yelling and screaming.
I guess they're just yelling and screaming.
But here's the catch. They're in a park, a public space meant for relaxation and enjoyment. The family, taken aback, clarifies they were merely conversing and having fun. But the officers, perhaps sensing they're on shaky ground, shift their narrative slightly, now accusing the family of using profanities. The man, undeterred, asserts his right to speak freely. After all, using strong language, while perhaps not always polite, isn't illegal. The family's patience is tested further when, just as it seems the officers are about to depart, another officer arrives on the scene. Their intentions become clear. They're not ready to let this go. However, the family stands their ground, urging the officers to respect their space and privacy. And after what seems like an eternity, the officers, perhaps realizing the futility of their actions, finally depart, leaving the family to reclaim their peaceful day. But the tales of questionable police encounters don't end here. Our next story takes us to a checkpoint. A man, driving home, finds himself halted by officers who take issue with his window not being fully rolled down. He complies with their request for his license, but is met with a peculiar demand. He can only retrieve his license if he rolls down his window further.
If you want to take it back, you can roll it window.
What'd you say, sir?
Their justification: they claim they can't hear him well, a dubious reason at best. The situation escalates when the driver is asked to pull over.
Because they can't hardly hear you, that's why. If you roll the window down, we're just out looking for drunk.
When questioned about the reason for this additional scrutiny, the officer, seemingly grasping at straws, points out that the vehicle's tires are almost illegal.
They're looking what?
Almost illegal. Almost too slick.
Almost illegal. All right.
It's evident that the officers are attempting to exert control, perhaps frustrated by the driver's knowledge of his rights and his refusal to be intimidated. The tension peaks when the officers, in a clear attempt to escalate the situation, ask the driver to step out of his vehicle. Their intent, likely to find any reason, however trivial, to search his car and further detain him. These stories, while individual in nature, paint a broader picture. They highlight the importance of being informed, of understanding one's rights, and of standing up against potential abuses of power. In a world where authority can sometimes overstep its bounds, knowledge truly is power. Our journey takes another unexpected turn, this time on a quiet road. A driver, having already faced a series of baffling demands, now finds himself subjected to an impromptu vehicle inspection. The officers, perhaps hoping to find some minor infraction, instruct the driver to activate his blinkers. But remember, the initial reason for this stop was merely a partially rolled down window. Given this context, the inspection seems not only unnecessary but also a clear overreach of authority. Despite their best efforts, the officers find no fault with the vehicle. Yet, instead of admitting their error and letting the driver go, one officer decides to bring up an old traffic violation, seemingly as a last-ditch attempt to assert dominance. But after this final, futile effort, the driver is, at last, allowed to continue on his way.
Remember writing you for 84 and 65?
Yes, sir.
On 575? See why you're scared to get out now.
But the tales of questionable encounters don't end there. Picture this: two young men, standing on a public sidewalk, observing a police officer in his patrol vehicle. They notice the officer's car blocking traffic and decide to point it out. However, their simple observation is met with a surprising reaction. The officer, rather than addressing the issue, beckons them closer, only to confront them aggressively. The situation escalates rapidly. The officer demands their IDs.
Can you call your sergeant?
And when one of the men asks for a surgeon to be called, the officer dismissively states he'll do so after dealing with them. Without clear justification, he proceeds to handcuff the men. Throughout this ordeal, the officer remains evasive, refusing to answer their questions about the reason for their detainment. It becomes evident that this isn't about upholding the law. It's about power and control. The footage takes a brief pause, but resumes to show the two men, now freed from their handcuffs, confronting the officer. They seek answers, trying to understand the reason behind their unwarranted detainment. But the officer's response is both shocking and revealing. He states he detained them simply because he wanted to. His blatant disregard for their rights and his apparent enjoyment of the power he wields is chilling. But the story doesn't end there. Another officer arrives on the scene, offering unsolicited advice to the men. He suggests that they should have simply complied with the initial officer's demands, implying that questioning authority, even when it oversteps, is not their place. This interaction underscores a concerning mindset, that of blind obedience over individual rights. As we navigate these intricate tales, one thing becomes clear: the importance of awareness, understanding, and the courage to question. In a world where the balance of power can sometimes tilt unfairly, it's crucial to stand up, seek answers, and ensure that justice prevails. The two young men, having already faced an unwarranted detainment, now find themselves receiving unsolicited advice from another officer on the scene. He insists that they should simply do as they're told, emphasizing blind compliance over individual rights. His words echo a sentiment that's all too familiar: the idea that authority should not be questioned.
An officer asks you for ID, you can't be like, you don't got no reason.
Even when it appears to overstep its bounds. But as we've seen time and again, it's essential to question, to seek clarity, and to stand up for one's rights. The officer's advice, while perhaps well-intentioned,
That's why you guys gotta do what you're told until you, no, listen to me, I'm telling you, this is how it works. This is 100% how.
underscores a concerning mindset. It suggests a world where individuals should simply accept their lot without pushing back or seeking justice. However, the true nature of the initial officer's actions becomes crystal clear. His behavior wasn't about upholding the law or ensuring public safety. Instead, it was about asserting dominance, about wielding power without accountability. One can't help but wonder, how many others have faced similar treatment at his hands? How many have been subjected to unwarranted scrutiny simply because they dared to speak up? As we reflect on these stories, it's evident that they're not isolated incidents. They're part of a broader tapestry, highlighting the challenges and complexities of interactions between individuals and those in positions of authority. Each tale serves as a reminder of the importance of awareness, of understanding one's rights, and of the need for accountability and transparency in all interactions.